Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back to episode 5 of Bankers, Bandits, Bullion, and Bucks with Bryce. Why are we doing this? We're getting together every single week, every single Friday, to talk about what to do when all the conspiracies come true. That just so happens to be the forte, the expertise, the industry, the business that Bryce is in. Bryce, right out of the chutes today, gold and silver ain't getting any cheaper. We've been doing this for a little while now. People might want to get on the ball with doing something more than nothing if they have even an inkling to do anything. So, Bryce, tell us what's going on out there and why is gold and silver not getting any cheaper? What's going on?
Yeah, so this has actually been a really big week for precious metals, and there's been a whole bunch of people in the precious metals space and kind of the financial space that have been predicting that there's going to be a significant increase in the price of gold and silver, and that's happening this week. So if anybody didn't know, and I'll share my screen here so everybody can see this, and I'll do gold first, but I'll do silver afterwards. So this is what's happening this week. Where's the share button here? Here we go. This one.
Yeah, this is not something that is new to us talking about. The people needs to get on the ball with this. There we go. We can see
Just
your
blow this up a
screen.
little bit. So this is the historic. Okay, so let me just show you this for a second. Get this guy out of here. So let me just show you this for a sec. So we think that the actual secular bull market happened or started happening in about 2018 around here. So that was about $1,200. We're now cresting up to just under $2,400, right? And what was it, like a year ago? Yeah, a year ago we we're at 1,800, right?
Mhm.
So gold has gone up 100% in, what is that, 5 years? What is that? 6 years. So gold is basically doing 10% a year right now, right? That is a fantastic investment. Beside all things considered, that's a good investment by itself. Silver is doing something similar, not quite as good as this, but I'll get to that in a sec. But what's happening right now is that massive, and I mean massive, amounts of money has flooded into gold and silver. So one of the big things that's happening right now is all of the CEOs and all of the C suites, all of these big companies, they're all leaving. They're all like, "Hey, I'm out. It's time to go do something else." And they're piecing out. They're selling their stock. And where are they putting that money? Some of it's going into gold and silver. So this is one of the reasons. The other reason is that the war all over the planet is getting taken next level. So this week, there's so much that happened this week, bro. So on Wednesday, Israel attacked a Iranian embassy in Syria, bombed
Mhm.
it, also killed a bunch of people in the that are NPOs that are helping people in Gaza somewhere, right? So the war in Lebanon is escalating significantly. Ukraine is escalating significantly. China is getting antsy. That war is escalating on a daily basis as well in various different ways, right? So all of these things are happening at the same time, and at the same time as all of this external things that are pushing the price up, the supply of all of these materials is going down. So one of the biggest producers of gold and silver on the planet is China, and they're keeping it all.
Well, they're partly have that claim to being the biggest producers of gold and silver because how many mines do they own over here in North America and Canada more specifically?
Yeah,
Hmm.
lots. And somebody just raised a good point. So I'm curious to know if the central banks are buying gold and silver. Great question, right? So last year, the central banks alone bought in excess of 1,100 tons of gold, right? 1,100 tons. And now it's generally considered fact that we don't have any way to verify this, but it's generally considered fact that the US has in the neighborhood of 8,200 tons in Fort Knox and central banks and the Fed and all those guys. It's generally considered that the US has about 8,200 tons of gold. The central banks bought an eighth of that in 1 year, and they're
Wow.
already on track for more than that already this year, and it's only April.
Yeah,
So everybody, sorry, go ahead.
No, and that's the next comment from David. When you've got companies like J.P. Morgan buying up 35 tons of gold, what does J.P. Morgan do? They buy with other people's money.
Totally. And so to put this into perspective, okay? So where's my mouse here? So from this point, was it 18? So from this point to this point, we're at basically a 80% rise, okay? In the price of gold. More or less a doubling, more or less, right? The rough amount of money that was in gold 5-6 years ago was roughly 10 to 12 trillion dollars, okay? They have put 8-ish trillion dollars into gold. Like the Eastern authoritarians, private individuals, banks, institutions, retail investors like ourselves, right? Everybody is starting to get the message that things in the financial system are not going well in a variety of ways, and there's a lot of risk and chaos and uncertainty in the system, right? And so this is one of the ways that people react that are in the know to, hey, I got to hedge myself against the chaos. And this is the core reason why the people do this, is that there's no third party risk. Once you have the asset, it's yours. You don't rely on
Mhm.
anybody's cash flow. It doesn't matter about inflation. You don't care if it's a business or not. All that you care about is that you control and you own the gold. And it's an asset. It just stays there. It's yours. That's it. You can trade it. You can sell it. You can do a bunch of stuff. You can leverage it. You
It's
can
the only
monetize it.
private currency left.
It is.
The
Sorry,
only
my
one
cat's
is,
gonna be.
and it's the most stable one in human history, in the history of commerce, and all of those things. And I do see another comment here. There are already some states that are nationalizing their own banks and securing it with gold. We're seeing particular outlets in Canada. There's one in Alberta specifically that is trying to do the same thing. But it's these things are like everything else. It depends on supply and demand, and if the John Q. Public isn't demanding it, the supply of the service is not going to be there. But these guys putting pressure on it from the top down on the industry, and what's available is what's driving the price up. So they're going to drive it up before you all get yours.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing now. And so the price of gold and silver has been suppressed for a long, long time, but they're putting so much massive amounts of money into it that you can't hide it forever, right? And that's why it's slowly going up. And so at the beginning of this week, okay, let me show you this because it's important. So this should be, no, it's 30, no, 1 hour, no, 1 day. Here we go. So this is 1 day. Oh, that's too much. 5 days, 5 hours. Sorry. What is this? 24. Is that April? What day is this? This is the 4th, 3rd, 1st. Here we go. So this is, oh, that's too far back. Right here. Okay, so this is April 1st. So from April 1st, which was 3 days ago, 4 days ago, it was at $25. It's now at $27.50. So it's gone up 10% this week.
Yeah.
That is, so if you look at the day here, and it's been sitting at 22 for a while. To go
Mhm.
into longer time. So they had a little bit of fluctuation up to 25. It went back down, right? But it's been sitting at this 22 area, 22 to 24 for quite a while, right? But it's slowly, and the further we go back, let me get this one here. Where is it? 6 months? Yeah, here we go. So in the last 6 months, we had a little bit of a tick up, and then it fell back down, right? Now we're way up here, and all of the things that I just talked about are increasing. So the supply is going down, demand is going up, and chaos is going up by orders of magnitude. So this is what's happening right now. Now there might be a pullback down just before everything goes crazy. And let me show you something else because this is why. So what happened so now this is the Dow Jones. This picture is what I like to show people to really drive home what's coming and what's happening, right? So in the run up to the depression in 1930s, right, you had this massive uptick in the value of the Dow Jones, unreasonably so. There's no reason that should be up that high that fast, and then it fell 80%. Right, this is where we are now, and the only reason that this happened is because we printed ungodly amounts of money into the system to prop it up. But eventually, this is happening at some point, 100%. And so this is what happened over that time with gold and silver, right? So right here in 1930s, You see this is gold on the bottom here. And so you can see it started first and it skyrocketed when everybody was selling everything that they had in the stock market. Silver is a little bit further. It happens after gold, but the distance is shorter, but because it's lower, the ratio is higher. So when gold basically did a 20x or something at this time, no, not a 20x. No, sorry, it was this time that it did a 20x. So from here to here in the 70s, this is when the US got off of the gold standard in 1970, right here, right? So from down here, which is basically nothing, it skyrocketed to its all-time high. At the same time as I don't have the other one there. But at this time, the stock market declined because of the inflation. So in the 10-year period from 1970 to 1980, it basically did a 10x or 12x. And that's what's coming. Because of this.
When the people that have the money, they start securing value in precious metals above all else. That kind of tells you as a pretty big indicator what's coming down the pipe. And I mean, I don't know what part of this theory called you're going to own nothing and be happy people still don't understand with what this system is driving us towards. And then we've got Trudeau out there promising $1 billion food program for kids, $6 billion for housing, but meanwhile as there is less and less input into the system, he is printing more money to suck more out of the system. We are in a doom loop that seems to be accelerating financially. And how I mean, we've heard about the terms, the de-dollarization, the fiat currency was, there's a war on fiat currency. This is not something. Are we there? Are we at that point of collapse? How much time is left? There's the BRICS news of nations jumping onto BRICS that's coming through my feed over the last couple of weeks. The last week, even in particular, seems to be escalating along that same sense of urgency and movement. Are we seeing the beginning of that major financial shift that was inevitable?
Yeah, we are. So the gold prices are a barometer of that, right? So you can't take trillions of dollars out of the system and put it in gold and not have that an effect on that. And so the way that the economy operates is that you have money and I have money and we do a transaction and we do something to produce something or to accomplish something within the economy, right? If you have a system where a group of people, i.e. banks or central banks specifically, have the ability to siphon off that labor and that money that's used for that transaction, and they take enough of it so that they can control all of the rest of the transactions, you have a system where there's no other possible thing to happen other than a collapse because you've taken so much out of the system, right? Because what they're doing right now is this massive amounts of inflation, right? So let's say you had $100 and I had $100, right? I've used this example before, but I'll expand on it a little bit. So let's say we both have $100, right? If we inflate the value of that, which is essentially devaluing that actual $100 that you had, and then somebody else goes and prints a bajillion dollars, they can buy everything that you have for pennies on the dollar, especially when deflation happens, and the actual money that you have is now worth less in the opposite direction. So inflation is a tax on the commodities and the economy itself. Deflation is a removal of money from the system, right? And if they're holding all of the money, they just buy everything up for pennies on the dollar.
And that's Travis nailed it right here. Why is Rockefellers and the elite selling their stocks? Because
they're
they're
getting
out while they're still going to get something. If they've got $1 billion in paper money that the next month is only going to be worth $10, they're getting that $1 billion out right now, and they're going and buying 35 tons of gold with it right now. That's what they're doing.
They are the smart people that are preparing for the situation that they created, right? And right now, they're selling everything. That means that you should be selling everything and buying gold and silver and hard assets, more importantly. Hard assets number one, gold and silver number two for larger amounts of money, right? Don't hold money in your bank, hold it in gold and silver. It's far more secure, right? And I don't just say that as somebody that's selling gold and silver. I say that as somebody that can look at the data and see what they're doing and why, right? I've been looking at this stuff for basically my whole life. Why is our system so broken, and who is in charge of it, and what are they doing and why, right? This is what their plan is. And somebody asked earlier, I'll see if I can find the question. Where is it? I don't know how to say this name. Leiden Lutz. Ladine. I should call it Ladine.
So how do
So
they
how do
go
they?
bankrupt when they have all that gold?
So this is what the ultimate plan is, right? They want to roll out central bank digital currencies. That is the ultimate goal, because what that allows them to do is push a button and you get removed from society. You can't do transactions. You can't get resources that you need, and you have to toe the line and get all your jobs or else, right? That is the ultimate goal, right? And what they're going to say, I can almost guarantee this. Can't fully guarantee it, but this is what I think they're going to do, is they're going to say, hey guys, your currency is collapsing. Well, wouldn't you know it? We've got a solution. Just sign up for these central bank digital currencies, and you can rest assured that it's backed by gold because we bought it all. Oh, well, it's so convenient for us. Isn't that so great for you? Oh, trust us, your friendly neighborhood central banker. Don't you trust us?
Well, here's a comment from somebody who hangs out with the bankers. I think is pretty on point. These guys know, they know when the money is disappearing. This inflation that they're trying to hide, and hypnotize everybody into he's solving problems by giving everybody free housing, while you're looking at that, and your loaf of bread doubles in price, not just every year anymore, but it's this we're seeing. I was watching Fifth Estate. I hate to admit it. I was sorting the noise so you don't have to. Um, but it's literally, by the month, the real world pricing is not being acknowledged as to where it's coming from, and I think that is directly a part of the process. All of the guys that are in the big businesses, they know that really soon we're going to have nothing, and that $10 bill that we go into the grocery store with now, is only going to be worth $1 of their product, in 6 months. Are we on a trajectory for that kind of financial outlook, real world on the streets? Is that, like, I mean, we've never seen anything like this in Canada. They
No.
didn't let us watch what happened in Venezuela. You can compare the notes on 19, Germany after either of the wars. How do we give people a barometer of what this is going to look like?
I want everybody to answer that question. I want you to think of the worst dystopian life you can possibly imagine and multiply it by 10. Because what this essentially amounts to is, how do I put this? Okay. In China, you have the government that has absolute power over everything. They can read your text messages, they can read everything that you say, they can listen to you, they can lock you down, they can remove you, they can arrest you, they can literally kill you if they decide to. That the only thing that stops them from doing that is their decision not to, and the fact that they need labor to run the country, right? But
You
if they
still
didn't,
provide a value whatsoever to an asymmetric society, and that's
right,
their barometer.
right. And so what's changing now is AI and robotics. So if they have AI robotics and, let's say, birthing vats, which are like artificial wombs, what do they need you for? Right. So if they decide that they don't need you, well, why not just take all of your money, because you can't stop me, and kill you and your family, and take all of your stuff, and then I live happy as the supreme rulers of mankind forever. That is what the plan is, in my opinion, right?
Well,
Because
that
everything that they've showed us, everything that they've been doing, and every piece of policy that's been put forward in our country and many others in the West, or in addition to around the world, pushes us off a cliff that we can't recover from. They want to get rid of farming. They want to get rid of your ability to drive. They want to get rid of your ability to bank, your ability to transact, your ability to decide whether or not you have kids. They want to control literally everything about your life. And this is not an exaggeration in any way, shape, or form. So what the ultimate plan is to enslave or destroy everything that you care about and everybody that you care about.
So
That's what it is.
I want to get back to something, a couple of points, and tie them together. Early on, you talked about gold and going up 10%, silver going up. There's a question here: is silver worth it? I know gold is, but I cannot afford gold. My opinion is 100% get what you can right now, because if it's left in the bank, when you go to take it out next week, it's only worth half as much. The numbers look the same on the paper, but it's only going to buy you half as much. Whereas the value of the metals, the longer you can hold on to them, even in the smaller denominations, that's going to be what standard fair currency for exchange is going to be most likely done for most people. That's why people buy both. So that's a question that I had kind of been asked by off camera. What's a good percentage or ratio for gold versus silver if people are in a position to set themselves up accordingly? But before we get to that, I do want to cycle back as to, because this is incredibly important time wise for those that need to or want to know more, are ready to get something, who don't want to sit on it. Where do they find some of these? Where do they find, and what happens? I need people to know you go to whatsupcanada.org, and right up on the top of the page, you'll see a precious metals buttons. You can click there, or you can go down here and you'll see this little video and a button, New World Precious Metals. You're going to click on any one of those and you're going to come to a page here. What happens from here, Bryce? And then we'll get into a little bit more of why people need to get over here and get this link, put it into whatever it is that you do your searching on, and come back to this later. And we're going to give you guys more reasons why you need to get this bookmarked and get on the ball with it.
Yeah, so I'll answer those kind of in the order that they came. So the first question was, is silver a good investment, and should I do it even if I can't afford gold? The answer is absolutely yes. So imagine for a second trying to go and get your daily necessities. Okay, how do you get your daily necessities? You get some cash, you go to the store and you buy it. That's how we do it now. That's how it's always worked for our entire life. My girlfriend's from Brazil, right? She grew up in Brazil when inflation was 40% or something per day. And so they would go as soon as they got paid, they would get paid daily, grab all of their cash and go and buy something that was a hard asset as soon as they got it, because they knew the next day it was going to be significantly more, right? And so the value of silver is that it's a small enough denomination that you can get something significant for it, but it's not like gold and you'd have to like chop it in half or something. And here's a half, whatever. Like gold is for large purchases and for holding large amounts of money, right? So there is still value in getting gold, and specifically, there's a lot of value in silver because that's what you're going to be using to survive if it comes to that. Now, I hope it doesn't. I am of the opinion that we do have the option to stop all this from happening. But as I keep saying, it's down to organization. We're not organized enough yet to actually stop this from happening yet. Now, if we don't actually stop this and we do have to go through this insane nonsense with these idiots trying to destroy our country and our civilization, then yeah, you're going to need silver because that's what is going to get you things. If you have to go buy gas or if you have to go buy food or something, you're going to have something that the other person is going to accept. If they only accept central bank digital currencies, well, that's another conversation we might have to have. But ultimately, it's going to be one of the few ways, other than cash, which might be hyperinflated or worthless, that you're still going to have something that you can trade of value that isn't bartering, right? And this is the important factor, right? You have built up all of your wealth over your lifetime, over your career right now, right? All of the things that you hold in your possession is a what's the word? A total of what you've spent that currency, that fiat on, right? And if you don't have something that's valuable enough to trade, you need something else that people are going to find valuable enough to accept it so they'll give you what you want. That's why gold and silver is an intermediary for bartering, for transactions. Does that make sense?
Yep. And so when people come here, and this was one of the things that to me was a key point in when we first met and started working together, was you guys have there's a team of you guys. First of all, you're all very real people. Adrian and Warren and yourself all bring different expertise and knowledge and experience to all of this. But the thing for me, because I didn't understand it, but I understood one thing, that money left in the bank is money left in the danger zone. It is dangerous in the bank. And you guys together find ways for people to get it out of the banking system into metals, and without getting destroyed in doing so. You guys create custom solutions for people that just want to get their money out of the bank. So that is one of the cornerstones of what you guys do collectively. And I think this is a do or die moment for people that don't want to see their retirement savings funds depreciating by magnitudes of percentages per day.
Yeah, and that's something to be said actually too. So if anybody has RRSPs, and I had a meeting about this actually today with one of my friends who's an accountant, and they're probably going to be liquidating all of their RRSPs, because the whole idea behind RRSPs is the government said, hey, you put a bunch of money into RRSPs, we'll tax you at a lower rate, and then at the end of your life, when you're not making as much money, you can pull that out and not get taxed as much. So the whole idea behind that system is that you give us a bunch of money, we'll invest it, we'll make money off it, give you, a couple pennies on the dollar for it, and then at the end of your life, after we've used it for your whole life, then we'll give it back to you. Right? That's the idea behind an RSP. Right? I have never paid into that stuff because I know that by the time I would require it or want it, it's not going to be there. We're going through a collapse. We're going through all of this insane nonsense. I've never ever paid any money into it, and I recommend personally. This isn't financial advice, but my recommendation is if you have money in the system and or registered accounts are part of that system, is that you get it out, and you get it out soon, because what's coming is going to collapse the banks, going to destroy your wealth. Because a lot of what RSPs are invested in are mutual funds and essentially stocks, right? Once this happens, and to go back to that point that I made earlier with that graph, all of the stocks that were in the stock market got obliterated. If you were in the stock market, millionaires lost everything because they were in the stock market and they lost 80% of their wealth. If you're in gold and silver, you don't care about any of that. You don't have to worry about it. You hold on to the value of everything that you put into it at the very minimum. And in this case, it's probably going to increase a whole bunch because of the trajectory that we're going. Now, that's not a guarantee, but every piece of data that I have seen over my lifetime tells me that this is what's coming, because Klaus Schwab has said it. Our government are run by absolute morons. Every piece of economic data we have is screaming red and black that says it's bad. And we're on the verge of World War III with a hot war with Russia, China, and Iran. I can't think of a worse timeline other than like Terminator. And I haven't even talked about AI really, but that's another problem that we haven't talked about, right? But all I'm saying is that if you look at this honestly, right, there is no good news that I can show you that says, don't worry about it, we're going to fix these problems, because our leaders were supposed to do that, but they haven't because they're part of the problem, right? So what does that leave? That leaves you and me to figure this stuff out ourselves. And one of the
Well,
core ways that you can do that is protect yourself with gold and silver.
I want to bring up another page here that is them setting the table for us to understand that money is an antique idea, and you should just get with the program and accept the CBDCs and the open banking. That's the other one that they are really hammering home, these two fronts of to set the table, set the stage for us to accept this trajectory that they want. But at the same time, they're also incredibly mortified, and they're attempting to poison the well through other means, because they've figured out that we're figured some stuff out too, and they're now trying to portray conversations like this, things that we're doing, initiatives that we're creating, as far right anti-vaccine activists who are batshit cray cray and are trying to create a parallel economy. Well, I don't see where anything that we're discussing here is any of the things that they're alleging that we are, or that we're thinking, or we're planning, or that we're dangerous, or except to the fact that if we have protected ourselves from the bail-ins, the system, the collapse of our own personal worths, and are able to provide and survive through an alternative economy, their junk fails.
Yeah. And I'm really getting tired of being called right wing by a bunch of moronic communists that don't know the hell they're talking about. I'm so sick of hearing that because these people can't even do math. They can't even define what a woman is. And they're like, oh, these right wing extremists, these far left, insane communists are destroying the economy that we built as as a society and civilization for the last 250 odd years. Right. And these people that don't know what the hell they're talking about are essentially being given their talking points by the oligarchy. So you got the oligarchy on top dictating and determining what's going to be happening, and then you got the moronic communists on the bottom that are just carrying it out because they're so stupid they don't even know what they're talking about. Right? It just infuriates me to no end to listen to these idiots talk about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about.
I got yelled at because I disagreed with the new food program for kids in school, to the tune of $1 billion, because socialism works and these kids deserve to be fed. Well, that $1 billion that our government is going to now take responsibility for feeding your kids. Why? Why is he taking responsibility for feeding your kids? Because you are going to be taking the next step to 100% taxation, and you won't be able to feed your kids. And if we don't accept this new system, and you said it there earlier, they will determine to your universal basic income. Wait a minute, you spent 15 cents on a Reese's Pieces and you didn't put that in your kid's lunch, and we have to subsidize that kid's dessert in their no, 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 you are socially unacceptable. We are taking your universal basic income away from you. I mean, it is as clear as day. We could write a movie on how this is going to work already, Bryce.
Yeah, and I've so I'm a part of a number of groups out here in BC, right? And one of the things that really infuriates me is all of the people on our side that complain about all this stuff and do nothing, right? And so and maybe this speaks to a little bit about why I'm here and why I'm doing this and why I'm on this with you every week. My purpose here is to solidify actions that people can take to do something about this, because what it's coming down to right now, and somebody else already said that World War III started. You're absolutely right. It has. And World War III is against all of us, humanity. If you're human, this war is against you, right? And so if you don't want to die and you don't want to submit to these idiots, and I hope you don't, and if you're here, you probably don't, just like me, I'm not going to submit to that. Screw that shit. But what this means is that we have to do something about it. That this is not going away, right? It is upon our survival that our actions depend, right? And if we don't figure out a way to organize this, and I want to show this because this kind of goes into something that I wanted to talk about today, because this was actually a good question that was posted on um the last episode on Rumble. So let me bring this up, and I think this perfectly encapsulates why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I'm saying, why I'm saying what I'm saying. So this is from Carol, and Carol, if you're watching this, yeah, thank you for the question. So I don't know how sticky notes on an electronic whiteboard does anything for anyone, especially when no one sees it. The government just ignores it, suppresses anything they don't like, and prosecutes anyone who opposes them. I don't believe that there is a political solution. We don't have anywhere near the critical mass to affect anything, just like the big push for the WHO IHR campaign and useless petitions that all of them got ignored. Who exactly is going to be who exactly is going to be reasonably have the authority to hold anyone to account when every party and institution has been completely captured and our elections are manipulated? So we can't recall them, hold them to account. They control the legal system, so good luck to charging them. They're immune to being sued, and with a manipulated voting system, we can't even vote them out. So what is the end goal for this organization effort? Who is going to do what? And the only way that I can see resisting is just a mass non-compliance and stop voluntary paying taxes. Sticky notes on a board isn't doing anything. Sorry, but I'm extremely frustrated. So a couple things with this. There's a lot to unpack here. Number one, I'm extremely frustrated too. You can probably tell by my tone. Number two is that the idea that we can do nothing is a straight out lie. We have all of the power. We have all of the power. We just don't use it because we're not organized, right? Because if you stop paying taxes and everybody else in your constituency or your province stops paying taxes, the government doesn't have any money, right? And that's one of the points made, because it's a collective action. Collective non-compliance is still a collective effort. That's still an organized effort, but it's non-compliance. And the difference between saying there's nothing that we can do because the system is corrupt and we have to do something because the system is corrupt is a vast difference. Okay. I will not accept the idea that there is nothing that we can do. That's bullshit. We have to do something. Doing
And
something is what, yeah, good.
it comes down to those unrealistic, unreasonable expectations that we have in this instant gratification society. We expect that pushing a button will get the job done. We don't want to take the responsibility of adjourning and going and doing jury duty in a court of public opinion. This is what it's literally going to take. People coming together with a reasonable demand. Look, for an example, the past week of carbon protests has put more chaos and fear in our government and caused multiple resignations, people crossing the floor in parties. That is the power that we actually wield. It's not in a petition. And this person is right. It's not in a sticky pad. All the information in the world without action means nothing. You just go into the grave an educated corpse. And this is the responsibility that people are going to have to take. We can all the action in the world, or all the information in the world, is still not going to help and save any of us if we don't get involved in some action. Now, and I'm not talking about just going and joining your local emotional outburst protest. Go meet people. Revolutions or renaissances don't happen that way. Revolution does when you set yourself up as an emotional mob, and give them a reason to bring out twice as many jackboots as they had the week before, or you gather a renaissance through collectively sharing understanding, ideas, and paths forward. This is, to me, the reason why I'm doing this every week, is differentiating that path to revolution or path to renaissance. How we get there is up to us, and that's the superpower that we have to make everybody understand that they personally have, but only if they engage it.
Yeah, and kind of to her point, right? I am not a politician because this system is rigged. I'm not playing a game with a bunch of morons that are rigging the game against me. That's bullshit. If anybody comes to you and says, "Hey, let's play a game together, but I get all the pieces and you just have to play," no, thank you. I will not play that game, right? But what that means is, if we got born into this system, we either remove it and replace it or upgrade it from within. Now, if we have to break it down and rebuild it from nothing, that's going to be a shitty time. Like that is going to be tough, and people are already difficult enough to corral and work together and all this sort of stuff. That's not easy. I would much rather upgrade and fix the garbage system that we have and remove the idiots that are destroying it and upgrade the system that is garbage to begin with, and then have to rip it apart and redo it, right? But if it comes to that and it's down to survival, well, what option do you have? You've got an option. If somebody is coming to kill you, you either fight or you die. It's literally that simple, right? And I want to drive this point home with an example, because what she really pointed to is, what's the value of these of Miro, Miro.com? What is the value of these sticky notes? Well, let me show you. Okay. So this guy right here is called Peter Zion. He's a geopolitical commentator, kind of like me in a sense. He's a lot smarter than I am, but he's also kind of I don't want to say a captured asset. I'm not 100% on that, to be honest, but he ignores a whole bunch of information, doesn't really talk about the vast problems in the economy and all types of other stuff. But he is really smart, and in some cases, he is very correct. And I'm going to show you a clip from him that go into farmers, because you can take this process. So I said this before: questions, answers, actions, result. What's the result that you want, or what's the result that you don't want? What actions are going to be required to either get rid of the problem that you have or achieve the result that you want? To figure out what actions are necessary, you have to ask questions that are going to give you the answers that you need to determine what you need to do. That is the framework. Okay. And now I did this with one of the groups that I'm a part of called BC Research Group, right? And so I talked to one of the farmers, and the farmers are getting destroyed right now. Bunch of different reasons. And this is what they told me. Okay. Water restrictions are destroying them. UN drip is on the horizon. They got infrastructure, overregulation, the nitrogen reduction. They are under attack. That means the people that grow the food that keep us alive are telling us all across the planet right now that these idiots are trying to destroy us. And what is everybody reaction to that? Well, I hope it works out. Not good enough. That is not going to solve that problem, right? And so why I keep talking about organization is that those people know what's screwing them. And the only reason that they can't do anything about it is because they are not organized and they don't have enough people screaming at our politicians like they should be to be like, hey, idiot, stop doing this because you're destroying the system that keeps us alive. Like Trudeau has literally come out to say, I'm going to reduce the amount of food production when we're going into a famine. It's the most infuriating thing I can think of, that somebody is coming up to us and saying to our face, spitting in our face as they do it, and says, I'm going to destroy your ability to feed yourself. I'm going to take your money and use it to create an alternative system full of bugs and bullshit and the mRNA vaccines and all this other stuff, and that you're going to have to accept it or else. That is an act of war. And I'm not going to take it anything less than that. So let me pull this up and then you can respond to that. Where is it? Where'd it go? Right here. This. So this is probably like I got it on 1.5 times, but this is in no uncertain terms what we are facing. Okay.
Well,
Can you hear this?
We'll find out here in just a second. But the one thing that I want people to remember is starvation is a non-partisan problem. Nobody cares what political party or affiliation you have. If they're hungry, and if you have something they want, when people are hungry, they will take what you want. It isn't just, we've had life too good for a long time. There's people outside of us that don't think like us, that want what we have, and they will come for it. And it won't be a partisan issue then either. All right, we'll try this here and see if we can hear it.
Can you hear this?
No.
No. Okay. Let me try this one more time.
It might be the interface that I'm not sure if the audio.
Oh, screen. Oh, I can share screen. Okay, this should work. Can you hear this now?
Is it playing?
Yeah. Okay, it's not working. Okay, one more time, because it says I know that I can do this.
Yeah, nobody's hearing anything. But yeah, it's fascism, communism 101. Control the food, control the people.
Okay, I got to share the tab. Here we go. One sec. I just got to find the right tab. There's a lot of tabs. Silver. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it. Okay, this is it. Okay, so this should work now.
Two colors here to pay attention to. First, the dark green. Those are the parts of the world that were producing agricultural products at scale before 1945. These are places where the combination of land quality and climate are sufficiently positive that you don't need fuel, fertilizer, and the rest. It's not that those things aren't useful. I'm not suggesting that everyone start going out with a hoe and doing it at scale that way. No. I'm just saying that these are the places that have a legacy because of climate. The areas in light green are the zones that have been added since 1945. These areas can only produce large volumes with industrial-style technologies and inputs: tractors, fuel, pesticides, herbicides, fertilizer. One of the things that globalization has brought us is a world in which all of the light greens can play, but they're dependent upon those inputs. They don't work without them, and that's a problem. I'm just going to pick one here: fertilizer. You've got your three main nutrients: nitrogen, phosphate, potash. The big number there is the percentage that the United States imports. Now, you'll notice that for the top two, nitrogen and phosphate, we're basically self-sufficient. Our exposure is for potash. You take 9/10 of it from somewhere else, but most of that is from these yahoos. So, they're good for something. This is the only chunk of our fertilizer input system that comes from a climate or a danger zone. This is stuff from the former Soviet world. Here's Australia and Brazil. We're not done. This is the stuff that comes from China, and this is the stuff that comes from the Middle East. We, as a species, are woefully unprepared for what's about to happen. You break down global trade in any appreciable format, and we lose the ability to feed 3 billion people. How we adapt to that is the defining struggle of our era. Here's where it will hurt most. Countries in dark blue and dark green are the world's major producers and exporters of grain and soy. Everyone else is a net importer, and if you disrupt the supply system, these are the countries facing at least a 40% reduction in their ability to grow the crop in the first place. If we're lucky, if we think forward, if automation and GMOs do everything we hope they do, we only lose 1 billion people by 2050. If not everything goes well, that gets ugly fast. Now, if you're an American or Canadian farmer and you're looking at this like, I don't see an X, you're right. You're going to try to feed the world. You're going to come up short. And you're going to look at your bank account, you're probably going to get over it. All right. Let me take a...
That's it for now. So what this shows you in very stark terms is that the amount of food that is produced on this planet is now declining. Our population is now declining, but it's going to decline precipitously when people can't feed themselves, right? And in the countries that were blue there is all of the regulation from the governments to destroy farmers, because what they want is to be able to get rid of the actual farmers that have been there for generations, buy them up, be massive agricultural conglomerates, and control everything. Right, this has been happening for years, and somebody in the give me 1 second, I'll finish this point. Somebody in the chat said this has been happening since 90 something. This has been happening for centuries, if not millennia, right? And now the only difference from then to now is the level of technology and control that the people in control actually had, right? So we're getting to the point where it is absolute control of everything, from the bottom of the supply chain to the highest levels of finance, all of it being controlled by the same people, and the people that are not in the cool kid club lose, i.e. you, me, and everybody else.
That the graphic in his video is also very explanatory of the why behind the Ukraine-Russian conflict and why that must go on, because that is ultimately the greatest source of interruption of fertilizer for all of these maybe countries, and this is why they cannot let that war go, because that is their conflict. They want to be certain oligarchs want to be the only ones supplying fertilizer to places around the world, and where he gets the most money for it is who will be able to have food. And we have a government here who wants to make sure that that isn't us that can afford that food. So any and all of it was going to be sent to these faraway lands. And so so many of these things are interconnected and intertwined. But this comes back to something you were saying earlier. You refuse to believe that we have used all of our tools. We have not begun yet, in my opinion, to take all of the potential options that are available to us. Now, one of the things, this is a term I've just picked up recently, but it really encompasses what I've been screaming about for 2 years. The solution, the cure for globalism is localism.
Yes.
Bar none. Look after our communities. To hell with whatever Trudeau wants to send your billions off to over in the rest of the world. That's got to end. Look after our communities first and foremost, our country first and foremost. And we do that by, I think, is exemplified by what we're seeing happening in the political spectrum right now. These junior level seats, these useful idiots that have been used to prop up these crimes against the people, they are realizing they're not going to be on that gravy train forever. And they're getting out of Dodge because they have to live in the communities that they are lying to, that are realizing they have been lied to, and those seats are going to change. And that comes again, the next layer back to people taking responsibility in their communities for the environment that they live in, not just expecting it to happen with an easy button or a click or a petition on a freaking website.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not 100% agree, man. And I'll take a couple questions from the chat in a second. But the core idea that I'm pushing here is that this is Miro and the organization through this system is just one avenue. This is just a representation of using sticky notes and moving them around on a whiteboard. It doesn't matter how you do it. It matters that you do it at all, right? And this is a way that you can do it quickly, easily, with lots of different people, and there's a voting system within it. If you want to create a system with your community, build one. Is literally what it comes down to, right? I'm gonna reiterate this. Nobody is coming to save us. I don't trust Pierre. I don't trust Trump. I don't trust nobody anymore. The only people that you need to rely on is yourself, number one, and people in your physical community, right? All of the skills, assets, and resources that you have are in your community already. It is the lack of organization and our farming out of our civil responsibilities that have brought it to this position where we are potentially going to be eradicated, right? I don't mess around with terms anymore, man. I'm so sick of this nonsense being pushed on us that if we don't do anything, we lose. It's literally that simple to me, right? So the reason that I push this idea is that I want you, everybody that's watching me, you don't know me, I don't know you. I'm just somebody talking on the internet to you, right? But you come here every week, I hope, because I'm not going to lie to you and I'm going to give you information and things that you can take action on to improve your life and protect you and your family. Because if we don't do this, we lose. And there's no other truth that matters to me more than this, that if we don't do something, we lose. That is the highest level of care that I have about any problem that we face. Because if we don't organize, again, we lose, right? And so somebody asked if there was like, oh wait, I'm going to find this comment question. Will OAS and CPP collapse too? Anything you got to understand this question, because the answer to this question will answer a lot of different similar questions. Okay, whenever you use a currency, you are betting on that currency being valuable enough to the other person that they're going to use it somewhere else and they will accept the transaction that you want to give them, right? So anything denominated in that currency, if that currency collapses, everything in that currency collapses. Now, there's some arguments to be made for insurance because that predates the financial system, but ultimately, it's still numbers in a database somewhere. And if that database doesn't function, what does that matter, right? The only thing that matters in a real economy is what physical skills, assets, and resources you control and how you use them in your community to achieve a goal or solve a problem. That's it. Everything else is bullshit because that is what keeps you alive.
We have to just take a pause for one split second and ask ourselves, has our leadership team called government ever successfully resolved a problem or a crisis? How have they responded to every emergency? Well, they
Give
were
me
in
more money.
offices,
That's what they
right?
always say.
And now they want to, after us all seeing the whole world, seeing that the hackers can control a ship and take out a bridge, they want us to trust our entire future in them building arrive scams. I mean, CBDCs. I mean, universal basic incomes. And we should just trust them at every level of government. That they know what's best. They know
For your
what's
safety.
for your safety.
If they care. Yeah.
It's just it's where, to me, being the hillbilly that I am, I literally can see this as we have to decide whether we want to plug into the matrix and be forever dependent. If they allow you to live, you'll be oblivious, you'll be ignorant to the entire reality of the universe, but you'll be happy under whatever psychosis or drug, crippled up in a wheelchair, playing video games through your interface. Or we can do what needs to be done and end the suffering and maybe get thrown back to the 1960s. Or if we don't, the alternative to waiting and fighting back down the road is we end up in the Stone Age. So I'm kind of all for going back to kind of like the 60s, 70s, 80s, when communities got together and took care of the town's problems. They didn't sit and complain to Trudeau until Trudeau came to feed the kids. Like, I mean, these are literally I'm oversimplifying on purpose because we force ourselves to believe that we are in a world that is so complex we can't do absolutely nothing, and that is such a load of bunk.
Yeah. 100%, man. They have filled us with these ideas that we can't do anything. They've made us poor, so we have to focus on survival every day, and they're taking every last thing that we hold dear. And there's a really good let me just pull this up for a sec because I think there's a really good meme that actually encapsulates everything that we're talking about today. Just give me a sec to find this, but I think it's really important. And now I don't have to find it. I can probably just say it. So if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm going to take all your stuff," okay, well, you've taken all my stuff. Well, now I don't have anything to lose, right? That idea of if you take everything that is important to me, well, I have nothing to live for, and I got nothing to lose, right? And if they are, and remember last week they put out that report that like, oh, Canadians are really pissed off they don't have any money for anything. Oh, they might revolt about that. They're really unhappy about that. Yeah, thanks, RCMP. Way to go, detective. Like, but what this really gets down to the core of is when people are desperate, people do desperate things. I would much prefer that we don't have to go through a revolution to fix these ridiculously easy problems to solve. Stop doing corruption, stop stealing from us, make good policies, and we don't have any of these problems. Like we didn't have them before, and we won't have them after we get through this, right? But to get to that point, you, me, and everybody that we talk to and care about have to be part of the solution. They are not going to give us the information to overthrow them. They're not going to help us do so, and they're not going to give us the situation that's going to give us the benefit so we're secure enough to oppose them. They want total control of you, your family, your kids, all of your future generations, and everything that you've ever cared about in your entire life. That is the most James Bond villain I have ever even conceived of. Because you got to understand, too, that let me ask you, Wayne, do you think there's aliens out there? Do you think we're alone in the universe?
I think that's a naive thought, but I can't approve anything either which way personally. So it really does, whether there is or isn't, is not on my plate for surviving today and tomorrow.
Totally. I 100% agree. But the reason I ask is this. It is an absolute arrogance that would think that in the size and scale of the universe, which is
Exactly.
hundreds of billions of light years across,
We're the only ones.
that we're the only ones. What an insane idea, right? So 100%, we are not alone in the universe just by the fact of math. If you can do math well enough, it's obvious that we're not alone in the universe. Just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because it's 100% that there's life in the universe. We're here. So if it was a process that created that, it wasn't, Jesus doing Jesus juice all over the place, that we evolved out of a process, right? Which means that process is everywhere, which means it's happened everywhere, right? And why I'm bringing this up is that if you had an alien race that came down from the sky one day, landed, dropped a couple nukes on a bunch of cities and said, "Listen, assholes, you're going to do exactly what we say, and if you don't, we're going to kill you." Either you say no and fight, or you die. Like, so if it was anybody else other than our own government or a bunch of idiots that control the government, we would be like, "Hey, not down for this. Ain't going to happen. We're at war now." But because these people say it with a smile and a straight face, it's like, well, that sounds half reasonable. I guess we won't do anything about it. No.
You got a guy from Ottawa, a thug in a suit, screaming and robbing you blind. If it was a thug in your house, you would do something about it or die trying. But because it's a guy in Ottawa, we sit and stare at the box that he's telling us he's going to do it from, and hope that somebody comes up with something. So, and for people, I wanted to touch on this here. We're getting down to the wire here. That Miro board, guys, get involved, get plugged in with that, or get the tool and do something yourselves. Go fishing for your tribe. Fish for the people. That's a great way and a place to do that. Put your heads together, your local communities. It's a free tool. Get a group together and start playing with it. Be that there was a game where you built towns and community. Minecraft, was that it?
That's one of the many. Yep.
One of the many. You do that.
Yeah, build.
Just do that for
Build.
real.
Just build.
Get out of the Avatar fantasy world and do it for real.
Yeah, it's easy to destroy anything that's been built. It's hard to build something that is inclusive and collaborative between other people, right? And communities are built on ideas, right? We are Western civilization based on the ideas of an ancient civilization that collapsed more than 2,000 years ago, or 1,500 years ago, whatever, right? But those ideas of democracy, rights of the self, the ability to transact on our own terms, these are intrinsic values that are under attack by the communist morons that are driving our country into the ground, right? And so again, for the last time that I'll say this today, If we don't do anything, we lose. Right. So the only ask that I have of you, I'm not even talking about gold and silver at this point, right? This is something that requires your actions, yours and mine and everybody else's. If we want to save our country, if we want to save Western civilization, we want to save humanity by extension, you cannot be inactive on this, right? There's so many people that are not only oblivious completely to this, but they are actively working against what we are talking about, that are like, yeah, all the communism and all the trans agenda and, screw the West, and all these insane people that are working every single day to destroy everything that you care about. Are you working that hard to defend against what they're doing against you? I don't think most people are. I'm not even doing that 100%, right? And I'm saying this in this way because it takes somebody to do it first. Next week, I'll talk about leadership and the differences in leadership and followership and followers, and how that structure works in essence. But ultimately, you have to be a leader and say that this is something that I care about. This is something that I want to accomplish, and I'm going to figure out how are we going to accomplish it. And if I don't have the ability to do it myself, I'll get somebody else and we'll do it together. Because this is the only thing that's going to stop these people from destroying us.
Nobody needs to go out and be a martyr. Nobody is suggesting that, but something more than nothing every single day makes a difference. Every day for me, it's my personal thing is I get up. What more can I do something a little bit more today? Even if it's an extra grain of a millimeter that nobody else sees. After a while, people notice, and it makes a difference. And the reality of it is, the 80-20 rule is 100% correct. 1% might want to go out there and be martyrs. Get involved with the 20% that will lead the 80%. And you know what, guys, we are far enough and deep enough into this that if you're frustrated, good, do something about it. Get involved with somebody that is a part of that 20%, and you can kind of tell the difference between the 20%ers and the wild westers out there. So 100% get involved and take back your country. It's ours to give away or take away. And I'm tired of giving away to other parts of the world that only want it and are, twinkle socks dude that is getting rich from stealing from all of the people that I see suffering. And it doesn't matter where you're suffering from, it all comes from the same place. And it's going to take us to stop all of it.
Yeah, and I found that meme. So if you wanted to bring this up for a second, so if the cost of living keeps rising and working won't cover the cost, then we have nothing to work for and nothing to lose. And this is pretty much where we are now, right? There are so many people that can't afford to continue paying the exorbitant amounts of fees it costs to live in society now, right? Delinquencies on debt and the bankruptcies, like the delinquencies on mortgages, are skyrocketing right now.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of time. I'm telling you now, it's only a matter of time before shit hits the fan. And somebody said earlier, it's already happening. Yes, it is. That's why I'm saying it in these terms, in no uncertain terms. It is happening, right? So now is the choice that you have. Now is the option that you have to make the choices, right? You're going to have to make choices. We all are. Some of them are going to be really difficult. Some of them are going to be hard, and some of them are not going to be good. Like we are in for tough times, right? I don't sugarcoat anything anymore, and I want everybody here to be prepared. Everybody that watches this, you need to be prepared for what's coming, because what's coming is not good.
I cannot add anything further to that. Thank you once again, Bryce, for dishing it up real. And I hope we gave people a whole bunch to think about and maybe a little bit to get plugged into. Guys, I did share my Substack link out there because all of the, if Bryce can get me to some of the links that he referenced, everything that I referenced and brought about will go out in a Substack for everybody to get, use, learn from, and get plugged into the Miro board that Bryce is working with us weekly. This is going to be a living document, and he's going to be adding to that and bringing more together all the time. So go grab, take, learn, free, use, get plugged in, go fishing for your tribe, and let's get this renaissance started. All right, guys. Yep. All right. Thanks so much, Bryce. And for the rest of you folks out there that hung in through all of that, and yeah, and another reason for the Substack thing, you can get on there for free. But the idea is we will be leaving all of these social media platforms. We will stop streaming live to the Facebooks, the YouTubes, and the Twitters. Why? Because I have no faith that I will not ultimately end up in jail for that, or have my platforms suddenly struck down and not know where everybody's at. So we're preparing to move. We're being preemptive. We are striking preemptively and moving our community to Substack, LGM.news, and Rumble, and of course, What's Up Canada. So that's where you will find everything, because they all live in places that Trudeau the Lesser cannot touch. So on that note, folks, big show coming up on Monday. The researchers, the people in court cases, people that are fighting, looking for data, information. Have you heard about the Freedom of Information Library and the mountains of evidence that these guys have got? Tune in Monday at 6 o'clock Central for that. We've got some other special stuff coming up. It's going to be fast and furious over the next little while, guys, because the crazy storm just seems to keep picking up steam. So stay tuned, stay in touch, and we'll see what happens next. Love you all. Bye for now.